Hey, good morning. It's Pastor Jeff with your Sunday morning message. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here at Freedom Church. We're working through this series on the 7 primal questions based on the book by Mike Foster. And I want to break down some of the questions for you. I hope that you've taken the test. If not, it's at primalquestions.com. And you just answer it's called an assessment. You answer the assessment. It takes about 5 minutes. And it'll tell you which one of the 7 primal questions is on loop in your head. What question is always in the back of your mind in every situation. And so today we're going to start with primal question number 1, which is, am I safe? And the big idea for people who have the question, am I safe? For them is that safety is the foundation for a grounded and abundant life. They think air, water, food, shelter, safety. They add that to the end. Most of us long to have air, food, water, and shelter. Those who have safety as their question, their primal question, they need to feel protected to thrive. And when their safety is in question, their best selves are completely compromised. The verse we attach to this, in my opinion, is Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You see, at their absolute best, people who have the Q1, that primal question of, am I safe? They're relaxed and completely at peace. They use their gifts to heal and to protect the people that they care the most about in their lives. They have a gift to create places where people can feel physically and emotionally safe. It's not just a physical thing. Their highest emotional need is both physical and emotional safety. Their primal gift is that they are the world's guardians. They help people feel safe and they help protect. They have the natural ability to analyze and to predict. They are emotionally connected and sensitive. Obviously, the goal is to get them from primal question of, am I safe, to a primal truth which says, I am safe. But first, there's work to do. Because people who have this question of, am I safe? They live their life on high alert. They're constantly waiting for something bad to happen. They're looking, they're always vigilant. They're like that lookout waiting for the enemy to attack. They spend their lives looking for something dangerous to come along, something bad to come along and threaten their safety. When their primal question is answered with a no, they tend to be hyper vigilant, living on high alert in a world of worst case scenarios. They attempt to control the future by anticipating and avoiding any type of risks. And this creates a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and overactively fear-based mindsets. Their core fear is of experiencing pain in some form and not being able to survive it or figure it out. Their kryptonite is negative surprises. They do not like negative surprises. Their primal avoidance, the thing they avoid the most, is risks. And they keep people at an emotionally safe distance to avoid those risks. So how do we help people who have this primal question? What does Scripture say about it? Let's look at 1 Chronicles 17 and talking about King David, verses 16 through 20. Then King David went in and sat before the Lord and said, who am I, O Lord, and what is my house, that you have brought me thus far? And this was a small thing in your eyes, O God. You have also spoken of your servant's house for a great while to come, and have shown me future generations, O Lord God. And what more can David say to you for honoring your servant? For you know your servant. For your servant's sake, O Lord, and according to your own heart, you have done all this greatness in making known all these great things. There is none like you, O Lord, and there is no God beside you, according to all that we have heard with our ears. This is a prayer of David's. Who am I, O Lord, and what is my house that you have brought me this far? It's a tiny thing in God's eyes, but it's huge in ours. He has helped them remain safe. Every move God makes is tiny to him and huge to us. And then David says something great here. And what more can I say for you, honoring me, your servant, for you know me? God knows you. and he still loves you. God knows your every thought and every move, and he still forgives you. How many people know everything about you? I'm going to venture a guess that it's one, and it's God. This past Wednesday with the youth, we had them write down embarrassing stories about themselves and bonus points if they wrote down an embarrassing story about someone else in the room. And I got to hear some funny stories and some silly things and some crazy funny things from them. And I asked them, do you have something more embarrassing? And every one of them said, yes, I have several more embarrassing stories, but I'm not going to tell you. You see, we don't tell those embarrassing stories because we are afraid that someone will think less of us, that someone won't like us anymore, that someone won't love us the way we need to be loved. And so we're afraid to share those things. Yet, while we were sinners, God sent his son to die on a cross for us. Yet, while we continue to make mistakes, God waits and longs to hear from us and loves to take care of us. If our spouses knew our every thought, as we invest more and more into our marriage, it appears that we mature. But in reality, in some situations, we just filter our thoughts before they come out, before they become words. They don't know everything, and we don't want them to. We're afraid if they knew it all, they wouldn't love us as much, and they wouldn't love us the same way that they do if they knew the things that we think about or the things that we do. Sometimes when no one's around and no one's looking, we're afraid our spouses would think less of us. But yet God knows it all and still loves us. Romans 5:6, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were sinners, Christ died for us. Love is not being demonstrated when it's easy. When the kids are behaving, when everyone is on task and life is going as planned, it's really being demonstrated when we're under attack. Love is tested when the attacks come. God demonstrates his own love for us by letting his own son die while we're not worthy and knowing we're not even going to try to be worthy. I want to share a song that everyone knows, we're all familiar with. No, I'm not going to sing it. It's Amazing Grace. And John Newton's hymn is the most famous New Year's Day hymn in church history. And he first unveiled it to his rural congregation on January 1st, 1773. The entire hymn is closely modeled after what David talked about in 1 Chronicles 17, a chapter that speaks of King David's past, of his present, and of his future. Newton does the exact same thing, reflecting on past grace, present grace, and the hope of future grace. It was a fitting way to bring in the new year, and it was his annual pattern. You see, the writer of Amazing Grace was aware of the ongoing grace upholding his life, and his future was completely in the hands of God's mercy. At the start of every year, he would start the year out in the three-dimensional look at God, looking at the past and the ways God had loved him, the way God was loving him in the present, and the way he knew God would love him in the future. For those with this primal question of, am I safe? It's important that we help them feel safe by looking at their past. Looking at all the times they thought they weren't going to survive, but yet there they stand. By looking at their present, the things that they are on high alert about and looking for the worst about, and their future. The truth is, you and I have survived everything life has thrown at us because we're sitting here living it. And God has put the proof in every step of the way. As each new year approached, Newton patterned his thinking along his reflective thoughts. In one letter to a friend, he said this: New Year's finds me employed. I compare it to a hill on the road, from the top of which I endeavor to look back on the way that the Lord has led me thus far through the wilderness. I look around to contemplate the difference His goodness has made between my situation and that of thousands of others. And then I look forward, and I perceive that I am drawing apace to my journey's end. I shall soon be at home with Christ. His confidence in God's grace gave him the confidence to face every new day. So knowing how he processed New Year's and reading and studying his writings, the hymn makes more sense. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. He's looking at the past. It saved him. Grace had saved him. He once was lost, but he was found. He was blind, but now able to see. Grace had taught him to fear, and grace had relieved every single one of those fears. Now he transitions to present grace. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. And then he goes to future grace. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yes, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine. This song focuses on how safe we are inside of God's grace. How safe we can find our lives and our eternity locked inside of the loving arms of God. Because we are in the middle of a storyline of grace, a new year, a new day, new endeavors, bring new anticipation of new mercies from Christ himself. With new years come new mercies. Many times Newton would write. So instead of new year, new me, Newton believed it was new year, new mercies for me. John A. Shedd said it this way: a ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are for. A lot of us, God has created us to be vessels of his grace, of his love, and his mercy. And a lot of us are staying in the harbor because it feels safe, because it is safe. But that's not what ships are for. Ships are meant to be out on the open seas. Ships are meant to be out on the go, not docked up, sitting safely in a harbor. Am I safe? People tend to take control because they don't trust others. And they believe if they don't make things safe, no one else will. But if we can show them God's grace and God's love and God's mercy at work in their lives, they will see that safety is just a prayer away. Have a great day, and God bless.